Almighty God, ruler of heaven and earth, we beseech thee to inspire and guide all our counsels and actions so that we may always walk in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. Help us with thy grace to do only those things that will promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria. Amen. Senator I.D. Gyang.
President, distinguished colleagues, I am Senator I.D. Gyang, representing Plateau North. I rise to second that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 5th December, which contain the 2020 budget passage by this very distinguished Senate, be passed and approved. I so second.
Those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 5th December 2019 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Thursday, 5th December 2019 is hereby approved. Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, appointment of chairman and members of Federal Inland Revenue Service, FRS. Pursuant to Section 3, Subsection 2 of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act 2007, I'm pleased to forward for confirmation by the Senate the underlisted names of nominees as the chairman and members of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. 1. Muhammad Mamman Nami, Executive Chairman, North Central. Representatives of geopolitical zones. James Yakwan Ayuba, member, North Central. Ado Danjuma, member, Northwest. Adam Baba Mohammed, member, Northeast. A. Ikeme Osakwe, member, Southeast. Adewale Ogunyomede, member, Southwest. Ehile Adetola Aibangbi, member, South-South. Representatives of MDS. Ladidi Bara'atu Mohammed, member, Attorney General of the Federation. Godwin I. Emifele, member, Central Bank of Nigeria. Fatima Z. Hayatu, member, Ministry of Finance. Magbe S. Ada, member, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. Umar Ajia, member, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. DCG TM Isa, member, Nigeria Customs Service. Registrar General, member, Corporate Affairs Commission. While I look forward to the usual expeditious consideration and confirmation by the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, request for confirmation of appointment. In accordance with Section 10, Subsection 1 of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Outcome Act 2010, I hereby present Mr. Edward Lametek Adamu for confirmation as chairman of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria by the distinguished Senate. While hoping that this request will receive the usual expeditious consideration of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru. I represent Osun Central Senatorial District. I have a petition from two of my constituents, and they relate to the abandonment of the Osogbo Steel Rolling Company and the Nigeria Machine Tools Limited, which privatized in 2005 and 2006, respectively, but have been laid comatose without fulfilling the purpose for which it was privatized to serve the economic interest of the nation. And there's no pending litigation in relation to the subject matter of the petition.
None of them is seeking judicial remedy. You can lay the petitions, please. Then Benjamin Uwajimogu.
I have a petition from one of my constituents. My name is Senator Ben Uwajimogu. I represent the good people of Imo North, Imo State. I have a petition from one of my constituents seeking reinstatement into the Nigerian Army. There is no pending litigation, Mr. President. With your kind permission, I'll lay it.
The petitioner is not seeking judicial intervention. You may lay the petition, please.
Of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing on the name of the leader on the Companies and Allied Matters Act Cap C20 LFN 2004 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Companies and Allied Matters Act Cap C20 LFN 2004 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019 SB 251 first reading.
Companies and Allied Matters Act Cap C20 LFN 2004 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019 SB 251 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
My distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Electric Power Sector Reform Act 2005 Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Distinguished senators, Electric Power Sector Reform Act 2005 Amendment Bill 2019, House Bill 01 first reading.
Sector Reform Act 2005 Amendment Bill 2019 HB 01 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
My distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is also the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the FCT Health Insurance Agency Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Distinguished senators, FCT Health Insurance Agency Establishment Statutory Bill 2019, House Bill 60, first reading.
FCT Health Insurance Agency Establishment Etc. Bill 2019, HB 60, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment Etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment Statutory Bill 2019, House Bill 57, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Treasury Management Establishment Etc. Bill 2019, HB 57, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Musa Muhammad Sani on the Rape and Insurgency Victims Stigmatization Prohibition Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Rape and Insurgency Victims Stigmatization Prohibition Bill 2019, SB 243. First reading.
Rape and Insurgency Victims Stigmatization Prohibition Bill 2019 SB 243 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
The sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Mohammed Hassan on the National Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Council Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Distinguished Senators, National Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Council, Establishment Statutory Bill 2019, SB 257, first reading.
National Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Council Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 257, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Food Security Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 2nd October 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Orji Theodore to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Distinguished Senator Orji Theodore.
Respected colleagues, I remain Senator T.A. Orji Ochen. I want to read this bill for the second time. Your Excellency, my colleagues, recall that this bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 2nd October 2019. The bill seeks to make provision for freedom from hunger, create basic right to food of acceptable quality, and the right of every child to basic nutrition. The right to food is a basic human right which protects the right of all human beings to be free from hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition. Food and its production are the most basic of human concerns and were at the foundation of civilization. Despite the tremendous progress achieved by humanity, we continue to struggle to meet the basic need of mankind. It is important to point out that food security means far more than having sufficient food to meet human needs on a national basis. Other very important factors include access to safe drinking water, primary health care, and environmental hygiene. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, after the world food crisis in 2008, developing countries have been enacting laws aimed at food security. Mauritius, for example, enacted a food security fund to enhance local production of food by tackling all the problems militating against it. The importance of this bill to our growing economy can easily be seen in the objectives and purposes of the bill contained in Section 3 of the bill. They include A, to provide a framework that promotes the realization of the right to freedom from hunger and access to food of acceptable quality as a fundamental human right. B, to provide a framework that promotes the elimination and prevention of discrimination of marginalized groups in the access and distribution of food. C, to provide a framework that promotes food production, self-sustenance, and food security in relation to all persons in Nigeria. D, to provide a framework and mechanism for the coordinated implementation of the national policy, programs, and plans on food security by state governments. E, to provide a mechanism for ensuring that poor persons access food at all times in inadequate quantities and quality through the implementation of state-sponsored programs. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, whereas Section 4 of the bill has heaped obligations, guides, and principles on all persons that get involved with food security, under Sections 5 and 6, both federal and state governments are obliged to carry out certain functions that relate to availability, acceptability, adaptability, and
accessibility of food to all in Nigeria. In the same vein, by the provisions of Section 8 of the bill, federal and state governments shall, to the extent of their mandate under the Constitution, guarantee and promote child nutrition. And by Section 9, every woman has the right to adequate food during pregnancy and lactation. Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, Part 3 of the bill establishes the Food Security Agency. Some of the functions of the agency in the bill include: A, to formulate strategies, plans, and programs to facilitate the realization of the rights to food, taking into consideration the right of vulnerable and marginalized persons. B, to monitor and evaluate the implementation of policies, plans, and strategies on food security and nutrition in Nigeria by the Food Security Committees. C, appraise and review the levels of access to food by all Nigerians in terms of quantity and quality, and liaise with the Food Security Committee and relevant agencies to ensure optimal access. D, to collaborate with relevant agencies and stakeholders in the establishment of appropriate mechanisms to ensure access to food by poor persons to adequate food in both quantity and quality. E, to promote measures to improve security and access to land and water resources and the optimum and sustainable utilization of these resources. Section 10 of the bill prohibits discrimination by government against any person or persons and makes provision for remedy of past discrimination in relation to right to food. The management of the agency is vested in a board established under Section 14 of the bill. There are, of course, provisions for chairmanship, membership of the board, tenure of office, powers of the board, etc., etc. By the provisions of Section 32 of the bill, there shall be established in each state of the Federation a State Food Security Committee whose functions shall include: A, to implement the food security policy and programs in the state, advise the agency on technical issues relating to implementation of different programs on food security within the state. That's B. C, provide early warnings and mechanisms on implementing food security situations within the states and advise on mitigation measures. D, to initiate, undertake, and participate in the collection, preparation, production, and dissemination of data and information on food security and nutrition in the state. E, to ensure proper identification of food in insecure areas, appropriate programs, and eligible beneficiaries in relation to food security. Section 35, Part 7 of the bill establishes a food insecurity and information mapping system, making it mandatory for the agency to work in collaboration with ministries of finance, disaster management, planning, and national security to provide the information needed to develop and strengthen the capacity to respond to food emergencies. Provision is also made in the bill on food impact assessment. Under Section 37, the President has the power to declare a food emergency if, in his opinion, there's a major shortfall in the domestic production or availability of a designated agricultural commodity. When the President declares a food emergency, the powers of the agency abate and vest in the minister. Ample provisions have also been made in the bill in relation to funds of the agency, investment of funds, annual estimates, accounts, and audit of accounts of the agency. Part 10, sections 44 to 49 are miscellaneous provisions which enact offenses and penalties in relation to food security. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, with a phenomenal population growth in Nigeria, agricultural production can no longer be self-regulated. with new food and waterborne diseases springing up every day, with the phenomenon of climate change having drastic effects on food production, government at all levels must rise up and ensure that the whole population have access. They have access. Sorry, my dear. They have access to full requirement of adequate food of acceptable quality and quantity. Governments must be committed to creating and sustaining the enabling political, social, and economic environment, which are essential foundation to give priority to food security and poverty eradication. These are what the bill is all about. In line with our other 77 trade, a compendium of the financial implication of the bill is attached. I therefore wish to appeal to Mr. President and my distinguished and respected colleagues to support that this bill be read for a second time. Thank you.
And distinguished colleagues, I rise to support the second reading of this bill, which seeks to make an act for the provision of freedom from hunger and the right to adequate food. Mr. President, I recall that during my tenure in the House of Reps in the 8th Assembly, I moved a similar bill, though that was for the amendment of the Constitution on right to food. I want to commend the sponsor of this bill for raising an issue that addresses the well-being of citizens. Food security is so critical that one of the first protests that was recorded in Bible history had to do with the issue of food. When Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, they came to a point where a massive protest arose as a result of hunger. Food, therefore, is so critical that it's one of the basic needs, if not the primary need, of humanity. In addressing this bill, Mr. President, I want to highlight just two issues, and that is about availability and accessibility. We talk about food security. The first and major thing is to make food available.
Yeah, you may read.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Mr. President, the matter before us is very urgent and very disheartening. A professor of medicine, Professor Jeremy Elusi, a professor of pediatrics and a child death and chairman of Medical Advisory Council of the Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital Complex, Ile-Ife, was brutally attacked and killed at Iruepe in Esa West local government area of Edo State on Friday, 30th day of December 2019, while on his way to Benin on official assignment. Senate is aware that the professor...
Distinguished, You need the permission of the members, the senators, before you start reading your motion. So I will have to put the question first. Since you have come under orders 42 and 52, you will need not only my endorsement, but the endorsement of at least 1/5 of the distinguished senators who are here. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion that we allow him to present his motion, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, my distinguished colleagues. The professor was brutally murdered along Benin and Ekuma Road while on official assignment. He left Ife on Thursday for Ambrose Ali University, Ekuma, in Edo State to supervise some students as an external examiner. The Senate is informed that on his way coming back to Benin, where he intended to pass the night before moving to Ile-Ife on Saturday, he was attacked and brutally murdered by some unknown gunmen while his driver sustained gunshot injuries. We are further aware that the 51-year-old professor and indigene of Okeigbo in Ondo State delivered the 345 inaugural lecture of the Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife on Tuesday, 24th day of September 2019, titled Between Too Little, Too Much.
We are now reaching you live from the floor of the Senate, where the Senate has reconvened for Wednesday's plenary. Well, before this time, the Senate went on a closed-door session. 40 minutes after the Senate opened its closed-door session, and the plenary of the day has commenced in earnest. Well, at the moment, the Senate is receiving a matter of urgent public importance from Francis Fadahunsi.
Over the country and all other nationals who may be interested in coming to Nigeria now and in future. We regret that today the police authority is yet to arrest anyone in connection with this gruesome murder. Accordingly, the Senate resolved to mandate the police authority to do thorough investigation into the killing towards apprehending the assailant and bring them to justice. We observe a minute silence in honor of the erudite scholar who died in active service to his fatherland. Urge the government to place high priority on the safety of all Nigerian citizens, particularly during and after this festive period. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, my distinguished colleagues.
Senator Matthew Orogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Matthew Orogide. I represent the group of Edo South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to second this motion ably moved by Senator Fadahunsi. On this very sad event of the killing of the chairman, Medical Advisory Committee of the Obafemi Awolowo University Hospital Complex. Mr. President, we have been hearing cases like this, despicable acts, performed by criminals, and of course, gunmen all across the country. This one that happened when the news broke. A lot of us who had the privilege of knowing this professor of medicine, who of course had gone out to the Ambrose Ali University in Ekuma to conduct, examination as an external examiner. It was a real shock to us that this thing happened to this erudite scholar. Well, the point to make here, Mr. President, to remind ourselves of the very grave insecurity that exists in our country. This man too is an embodiment of intellect, a a man who was imparting knowledge, and of course in an institution where doctors were being manufactured, was just hacked down and killed by unknown gunmen. And of course, as he has expressed in the motion, nothing has been said about, that incident in the direction of apprehending those that committed the crime. I'm just lending my voice, first in expressing, on behalf of myself and of course my constituents, our own, very deep sympathy to the university community in Ife. This professor was known to me because I was privileged to be the chairman of the management board of the teaching hospital for 3 years. And he was one of our best brains that we had in the teaching hospital. His demise, no doubt, is going to create a very huge vacuum, particularly these days that we are looking for the right caliber of human beings that are trained in our very rare feats in medicine. But today, it's no more, he has been killed. But I think having to find out those who committed these dastardly acts will be an effort in the right direction so that the occurrence of this type of ugly incidents will not happen. So, Mr. President, thank you very much for this privilege.
We'll go to the prayers. Mandate the police authority to do thorough investigation into the killing towards apprehending the assailants and bring them to justice. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Prayer 2. Observe a 1-minute silence in honor of the erudite scholar who died in active service to his fatherland. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. And prayer 3. Urge the government to place high priority on the safety of all Nigerian citizens, particularly during and after this festive period. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. 1 minute silence. May the soul of Professor Jerome Elusea rest in perfect peace. Amen. Sorry? 2 minutes? Because... No, I know, DSP, I know what your 1 minute was. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. You are not allowed to. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of House Bill standing in my name on the Fiscally Challenged Empowerment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Fiscally Challenged Empowerment Bill 2019, HB 2, first reading.
Fiscally Challenged Empowerment Bill 2019, HB 2, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of a House Bill standing in my name on the Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Bill 2019, HB 6, first reading.
Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Bill 2019, HB 6, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Adeyemi Smart on the National Commission for the Prohibition of Small Arms and Light Weapons, Establishment etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Commission for the Prohibition of Small Arms and Light Weapons, Establishment etc. Bill 2019, SB 283, first reading.
National Commission for the Prohibition of Small Arms and Light Weapons, Establishment etc. Bill 2019, SB 283, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name, on the name of Senator Barau Jibrin, on the Federal Colleges of Education Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Colleges of Education Bill 2019, SB 284, first reading.
Federal Colleges of Education Bill 2019, SB 284, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Oriolowo Adeyemi on the Commodity and Grains Board Establishment etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Commodities and Grains Board Establishment Extra Bill 2019, SB 285, first reading.
Commodity and Grains Board Establishment etc. Bill 2019, SB 285, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on FCT on the 2020 FCT Appropriation Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Kyari Abubakar, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Abubakar Kyari.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Abubakar Kyari, representing Borno North. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on FCT on the 2020 FCT Appropriation Bill 2019 SB 270. I so move.
Senator Abamoro.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Abamoro, representing the good people of the Benue South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I move to second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on FCT on the 2020 FCT Appropriation Bill 2019 SB 270. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the 2020 FCT budget, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Dr. Abubakar Kyari, you may lead the report, please. Clerk, we should make enough copies for the single senators who are considering this report tomorrow. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my highly respected colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nominations of the following persons for appointment as chairman and member of the National Assembly Service Commission in accordance with the National Assembly Service Commission Act 2010. They are: number 1, Engineer Ahmed Kadi Amshi, chairman from Yobe, Northeast. 2, Babagana Modu, member from Borno, Northeast. 3, Senator Abubakar Tutari, member from Taraba, Northeast. Number 4, Hakim Akamo, member, Lagos, Southwest. Number 5, Turayo Akichobinde, member, Ondo, Southwest. Number 6, Atome Moyewi Francis, member, Delta, South-South. Number 7, Engineer Basi Etuk, member, Akwa Ibom, South-South. Number 8, Honorable Boliyobinu Yusuf Shinkafi, member, Zamfara, Northwest. Number 9, Sani Seudu Kazore, member, Jigawa, Northwest. Number 10, Senator Julius Ucha, member, Ebonyi, Southeast. Number 11, Nnamdi Ayabi, member, Imo, Southeast. Number 12, Awalu Aliyu Ohidasi, member, Kogi, North Central. Number 13, Muazu Ishok, member, Nasarawa, North Central. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the President of the request of Mr. President CNC to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore, Mr. President, move that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nominations of persons listed in the order paper for appointment as chairman and members of the National Assembly Service Commission.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President is referred to the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for further legislative action and to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected colleagues, the second order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nominations of 2 additional persons for appointment as members of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria in accordance with Section 3, 1, and G2 and 3 of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NHACON. They are: 1, Dr. Bala Mohammed, representative of Jamaatul Nasrul Islam. Number 2, Mr. Yusuf Chinedozi Nwoha, representative of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President CNC to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nominations of persons listed on the order paper for appointment as members of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request is referred to the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Communications on the Universal Service Provision Fund Budget Proposal for the year 2020. The distinguished colleagues will recall that the report was laid on Wednesday, 4th December 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Oluremi Tinubu to move the motion for the Senate to consider and approve the report.
Senator Ibrahim Bome.
I stand to represent the chairman of the Communication Committee who is unavoidably absent. It is therefore my privilege to present to you the report of the Senate Committee on Communication on the Universal Provision Fund budget for the year 2020. The budget proposal for the Universal Provision Fund for the year 2020 was prepared and submitted to the Communication Committee. Based on Section 114, subsection 1 and section 2 of the Nigerian Communication Act of 2003, the Universal Provision Fund submitted a provisional budget of 11,594,920,847 for the year 2020. The expenditure profile consists of the following: 2,354,055,799 naira for the current, while the sum of 9,240,865,048 naira for the capital expenditure. In the report under 3 and 4, we have the detailed breakdown of the budget proposal. The findings of the committee. The management of USPF, led by the Secretary, appeared before the committee to defend the budget on the 5th of November 2019. And after exhaustive deliberations, the committee observes as follows. The total fund revenue projection for the year 2020 is 11,594,920,847. Similarly, the total expenditure for the year 2020 is the sum of 11,594,920,847 naira, which consists of recurrent of 2,354,055,799 naira, while the capital expenditure is 9,240,865,610 naira. Recommendations.
the sum of 11,594,920,847 is hereby recommended for approval as the budget for the Universal Service Fund for the year 2020. Prayer that the Senate do approve the recommendations of the committee. I so submit.
Any comments? Okay, we go to the recommendations. The recommendation is on page 3. The sum of 11,594,920,847 naira only is hereby recommended for approval as the Universal Service Provision Fund USPF budget for the year 2020. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The President and my distinguished colleagues, the fifth order, is it the fifth order and the fourth?
The same communication.
Fourth.
It's the same communication.
Yes, the fourth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Communications on the Nigerian Communication Commission NCC budget proposal for the year 2020. Distinguished senators, you will recall that the report was laid on Wednesday, 4th December 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Tinubu Remishade to move the motion for the Senate to consider and approve the report.
Any comments, observations? Senator Ibrahim Bomai, in place of Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
My name is Ibrahim Mohammed Bomai, representing Yobe's House. I'm standing in for the Chairman, Committee on Communications. It is my honor and privilege to present to you the report of the Committee on Communications on the NCCE budget for the year 2020. In accordance with Section 19, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Communication Act of 2003 and Section 21 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the NCCE submitted a projected budget of 140,383,591,000, out of which the recurrent is 39,297,044,000, and a capital expenditure of 28,993,152. And the sum of 7.5 to be transferred to USPF, while the sum of 64,208,446,000 to be transferred to the federal government. Under 3 and 4, that is the details of the budget framework. The findings of the committee. The management of the NCCE, led by its executive vice chairman, appeared before the committee to defend the Commission's budget proposal for the year 2020 on Tuesday, 5th November 2019. After exhaustive deliberations, the committee observes as follows. The Commission's revenue of 140,380,591,000 it's been proposed as the revenue, and the breakdown of the revenue consists of the following. Annual licensing fee, 1.5 billion. Annual operating fee, 68.5 billion. Spectrum fee, 47,653,419,000. Numbering plan, 4.5 billion. Admin charges fee, 115,196,000. Tribe approval fee, 780 million. Sanction fee, 50 million. Then sundry income, 33,176,000. Then broadband fee, 17,251,800,000. The commission total expenditure proposed is 139,998,642,000, which consists of the following: total recurrent, 39,297,044,000. Then total capital expenditure is 28,993,152,000. Then transfer to the federal government is 64,208,446,000. Then transfer to Universal Service Provision Fund is 7.5 billion. Therefore, the total budget revenue for 2020 for the NCCE is 140,383,591,000 naira, while the total expenditure for the year is 139,998,642,000, reflecting a budget surplus of 384,949,000. Recommendations. The sum of 140,383,591,000 is hereby recommended for approval as the NCCE Commission's budget for the year 2020. Prayer that the Senate do approve the recommendations of the committee. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Abaro Jibrin.
I am Senator Abaro Jibrin, Anthony North. Mr. President, let me commend the committee for having done a very good job. I'm delighted, particularly because of the fact that 64 billion naira will be transferred to the consolidated revenue fund of the government. This is good. We regard or we put NCC in the class of revenue earning agencies, and that's what we've been talking, and that is the focus this time around, that all the revenue earning agencies should be open doing in terms of transferring money due to the federal government to the consolidated revenue fund. This is what we like to see in 2020, so that we can have the funds projected in the 2020 Appropriation Act, so that act can be fully implemented. So I give kudos to NCC, and I want others to follow suit, so that we don't have a funding problem in the 2020 budget. So what I want to add is that they should do more. We've gotten 64 this year, for 2020. So we want you to double that effort in 2021, so that you can muster up to 120 billion for the federal government. Thank you very much.
Any more comments? Senator Kabir Barkia.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, representing Katsina Central. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, when I went through the page 2 or 3, page 2, I saw capital expenditure, which is 8.12 billion, and also special projects, 20 billion. So I don't know what is this special project. I thought special projects also are under capital expenditure. So I don't know, it may be the chairman could explain what this special project means under this budget. Thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished
Chairman.
Specifically capital expenditure for the NCC headquarters, while the other special projects are capital projects carried out outside the NCC. Part of the mandate of the NCC is to provide network services to areas where there is no network, and also corporate social responsibilities. So the sum of 9.2 billion is also part of the capital project. 2.3 is the internal capital project for the projects of the commission. If you go through the details, you will see the detailed breakdown of the 2.3 and also 9.2.
Any more comments? Okay, we'll go to the recommendation. The sum of 140 billion 383 million 591,000 naira only is hereby recommended for approval as the Nigerian Communications Commission's budget for the year 2020. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Joint Committee on Navy, Marine Transport and Finance on the investigation of the illegal security activities by Ocean Marine Solutions Limited of the secure anchorage area of Lagos ports. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Sakibu George Thompson to move the motion of the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Distinguished Senator George Thompson Sakibu, this year I'm sure you will like to help us abridge. Thank you.
Mr. President of the Senate, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator George Thompson Sakibu, Commander of the Order of the Niger and Justice of the Peace. Mr. President, we have about 40 pages of a report. The other volumes are annexures, so that if people want to find more things, they can study them and also get more details. But I will take a few introduction and then go to the findings so that we don't spend the whole day reading. The Senate at its sitting on Thursday, 7 November 2019, debated a motion on the illegal security activities by Messrs. OMSL Limited at the safe anchorage area of Lagos ports, and refer same to the Joint Committee on Navy, Marine Transport and Finance to investigate the matter aimed at determining the legality of the operations, its revenue and security implications. Please go to page 3. Background. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues,
You may recall that while debating the motion on the illegality of the activities of Mr. Ocean Marine Solution Limited at the Secure Anchorage area of Lagos ports, unanimously agreed to investigate the matter due to its monumental security implication at the Nigerian seaports, as well as failure to remit funds to the federal account as alleged by the Nigerian Ports Authority, and to also ascertain the legality of the interchain of the operations. The motion has two resolutions. The first one, mandate the Committee on Navy, Marine Transport and Finance to carry out a comprehensive investigation on this lingering infraction among the agencies with a view to resolving security impasse it will bring to the nation. The Joint Committee is posed to find out the causes of the lingering infraction among the agencies, recommend possible solution to the infractions. Issue 1 above will be seen on paragraph 7.2, general findings on page 27. Issue 2 will be on the committee's recommendation on paragraph 8.0 of page 34. Resolution 2, further mandate the Committee on Navy, Marine Transport and Finance to investigate the activities of Mr. OMSL Limited and other security agencies of the safe anchorage area in the Lagos ports to determine the legality of these operations, its revenue implication, and report within 4 weeks. The committee is posed with two issues: the legality or otherwise of the operation of OMSL at the SAA. 2, whether OMSL remit funds to the federal government. Issue 1 and 2 above, the Joint Committee refers you to the specific findings on paragraph 7.1 on page 26. Mr. Senior President, having given this background, permit me to go to the findings. I'm looking for it. I will tell you the page. Page 26, please. Findings 7.0. After exhaustive deliberation on the presentation of the stakeholders to the Joint Committee and subsequent thorough analysis of their various submissions, the Joint Committee findings are as follows. 7.1. Specific findings. That the operation of the secured anchorage area by Ocean Marine Solution Limited is legal due to the fact that it was established in 2013 after an intensive stakeholders meeting led by NPA and NIMASA, and the subsequent approval issued by both through marine notices published in Vanguard of 27 November 2013 and the Guardian newspaper of 4th April 2014. With the publications of the marine notices, the Nigerian Navy went into an MOU with OMSL. The notices and the MOU makes the operation of OMSL legal. 2, that Ocean Marine Solution Limited is a limited liability company registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission and pays e-tax to appropriate government agencies and is having an up-to-date tax clearance certificate. 3, that the operation of the SA by OMSL, as approved by relevant government agencies, NPA, NIMASA, and Nigerian Navy, it is not a public-private partnership, PPP, and as such, OMSL does not remit funds to the federal government accounts. General findings. 1, that the Nigerian Ports Authority Act 1954 had given the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, the responsibility of charting, designating, owning, operating, and managing anchorage areas, but was silent on the provision or establishment of the secured anchorage area. 2, that both the Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, are of the view that issues related to anchorage and anchorage area are the responsibility of NPA. 3, that the Nigerian Navy is responsible for securing the Nigerian territorial waters and is at liberty to be in a collaboration that will effectively enhance its operation and aid in delivering its mandate. 4, that the Nigerian Navy are currently in deficit of about 150 patrol boats that will help it in checkmating the insecurity in the Nigerian sea and ports. 5, that 2 out of the 3 patrol boats given to the Nigerian Navy by the Nigerian Ports Authority through NIMANSA in 2014 to enhance security presence in the ports are dysfunctional. 6, that the heightened insecurity in the Nigerian waters in 2012, particularly at the Lagos waters, led to the establishment of the SAA. 7, that relevant government agencies, including NPA, NIMANSA, DPRO, and Nigerian Navy, were involved in the meetings and consultation process that led to the establishment of the SAA. 8, that the Nigerian Navy as an institution saddled with the responsibility of securing the Nigerian territorial waters operate in the SAA with platforms, logistics, and technical support provided by OMSL. That the boat provided by OMSL at the SAA are painted in Nigerian Navy colors, giving Nigerian signals and operated essentially as part of the naval fleet under the command and control of the Nigerian Navy. 10, that OMSL patrol boats in the SAA are operating under the command and control of the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command in accordance with the provision of extant MOU between the company and the Nigerian Navy. 11, that the existence and operation of the SAA cannot in any way be a threat to national security as it is being operated and supervised by the Nigerian Navy and not by OMSL directly. 12, that the allegation that SAA poses a security threat to the country is an indirect indictment on the Nigerian Navy as it's the one operating on the platforms with the logistics provided by OMSL. 13, that the Nigerian Navy had on different occasions emphasized that its interest is for an enhanced and advanced maritime security to all users of the sea, as such, want to maintain neutrality. 14, that the neutrality of the Nigerian Navy is difficult to ascertain due to the fact that it operates on the platforms and logistics provided by OMSL at the secured anchorage area. Mr. President, before I read number 15, when they talk about platforms, they are talking about boats and vessels and ships. 15, that the establishment of the SAA has not contravened the provision of any national or international maritime laws ascribed or acceded to by Nigeria. 16, that the platforms with services offered by OMSL at the SAA were reviewed by international agencies and certify it as safe and of international standard. 17, that the establishment of the SAA is in line with international best practice. 18, that maritime security stakeholders are aware of the existence of the secured anchorage area since 2013. 19, that newspaper publication and marine notices were made to mariners for the availability of the secured anchorage area SAA facility by both NPA and NIMANSA in 2013 and 2014 respectively. 20, that OMSL is an indigenous company that currently employs 7,540 Nigerians in both direct and indirect employment. 21, that the company had made huge investment into the operation of the secured anchorage area and is still indebted to banks with not less than 63 vessels on sea, assisting the Nigerian Navy to carry out patrol operations. 22. The Nigerian Port Authority provides anchorage services near the Fairway Buoy for free of charge, but a number of ship vessel owners prefer to anchor at the SAA. 23. That the services of the SAA is rendered outside the port's limits and pilotage districts at a maritime zone over 10 nautical miles from the Fairway Buoy offshore. 24. that the services are rendered purely on demand and was never made compulsory for all vessels coming to Lagos ports. 25, that users of the services offered in the SAA are charged $2,500 the first day and $1,400 in subsequent days, which is far less than what was being spent by vessel owners before the establishment of the SAA. 26, that the operation of the SAA comes with huge expenditure in engineering, maintenance of the patrol boats, fuel, victual, and other logistics requirements. 27, that the end user of the services of the SAA operated by OMSL are paying for the logistics elements supplied by the company that enables the Nigerian Navy to maintain constant presence at their locations. 28, that the average number of days stayed by any vessel in the SAA is not more than 6 days. 29, that shippers or vessel owners before the establishment of SAA hire minimum of 3 armed mercenaries for security when coming to Gulf of Guinea, especially in Nigeria, at a minimum of $7,500 per day. 30, that the major factor that prompted the decision of NPA to request for the stoppage of the SAA is for the need to reduce the cost incurred by vessel owners when calling to Nigerian ports and the need to promote ease of doing business in the country. That in matter relating to port cost, the Nigerian Shippers Council takes the lead as economic regulator of the ports, as is the one with such responsibility, and as such, NPA cannot act unilaterally. 32, that there is a need to extend the types of services rendered at the SAA at the Lagos port to other ports in the country. This is due to its ability to effectively securing ships, vessels waiting to berth at the Lagos ports. 33, the ships or vessel owners are satisfied with the services rendered at the Secure Anchorage Area, SAA, and unanimously wanted it to be sustained. 34, that ships or vessel owners are comfortable with fees charged for the services rendered at the SAA by OMSL and have not complained to government or any of its agencies. 35, that the insurance premium paid by ships vessel owners has reduced by their insurance after reviewing the effectiveness of the security arrangement provided by the SAA. 36, that since the establishment of the SAA, the freight charges on cargo destined to Lagos ports have stabilized. 37, that it will be difficult to convince a domain expert in the maritime industry that the fee charge at the SAA facilities could increase port cost. 38, that the provision of the SAA comes to government at no cost. 39, that the provision of an alternative to the SAA will require a budgetary allocation from the government. 40, that no alternative provision is in place that will provide the needed security for vessels waiting to berth at Lagos ports, like the current secured anchorage area operated by OMSL. 41, that in the past 6 years of rendering the services of the SAA, all pirate attacks in the SAA have been repealed, thus giving the services a 100% success level. 42, that the SAA facility has indeed restored the confidence of the Nigerian merchants and shippers in the use of Lagos ports. 43, that the SAA facility does not cost the government anything, but rather help to reduce government expenditure in providing security at the nation's waters. 44, that there is a need for government agencies to understand their schedule of duty and responsibility, as well as the areas of their jurisdiction to avoid possible overlap of functions. And 45, that there is no genuine intention in the argument being canvassed by those seeking for the dismantling of the SAA facility due to the fact that no alternative arrangement has been put in place. Mr. President, the committee gives the following recommendations. At the end of intensive consultations, analysis of presentation, and submission, as well as relying on their above findings, The Joint Committee recommends the following. 1, that the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Ports Authority, and NIMASA should be commended for initiating and implementing a process that led to the provision of enhanced and advanced maritime security in the Secured Anchorage Area, SAA, in the Lagos waters in 2013 that has led in checkmating the high rate of attacks on vessels waiting to berth at the Lagos port. 2, that Ocean Marine Solution Limited should be commended for its genuine national interest in investing over $400 million into the security at the Secured Anchorage Area, in particular, and the Nigerian waterways in general, by providing the needed platforms and logistics for the Nigerian Navy to effectively perform 24/7, 365 patrol operations, as well as to provide the required protection for vessels waiting to berth at the Lagos port. 3, that since no fraud is found in the operation of the OMSL and is operating at no cost to government, OMSL should be allowed to continue its operation at the SAA until such a time when a better and more cost-effective system is put in place by government. 4, and final, that the Nigerian Navy should be properly funded to enable it to procure needed vessels to clear the over 150 vessel deficit, to enable them carry out their constitutional responsibility without over-depending on private maritime logistics support companies. Conclusion. Mr. President and the distinguished colleagues, the Joint Committee sincerely expresses its appreciation to the Senate leadership and the Inter-Senate for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. Thank you, Mr. Senate President.
Any comments? Senator Barrow Jibril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibril. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, let me again commend the Joint Committee, the members of the committees that produce the report. It's a massive exercise. Considering the volume of the report before us, it's a massive exercise. And there are a lot of agitations for and against the operation of this company that is doing a wonderful job in the Anchorage area of Lagos State. Even though the NPA does not want the continuation of what this company, OMSL, is doing, but we have to rely on the integrity of members of this committee, considering the fact that we have ranking senators and senators who have shown commitment to the cause of the interests of this country in their previous assignments. It's a complex, very complex situation, but we have to rely on the integrity of the members of this committee. I will have asked a question on how they're able to know that this company spent over $100 million to acquire what they've been able to acquire, what they've been able to use in this operation. But as I said, we have to rely on their integrity, because I'm sure they've done a wonderful job to find out all these things. But if there's a way, because part of the agitations of the MP is about the cost, to talk about ease of doing business in the country. If there's a way to reduce the money a little bit, the money that is being, the ships are being charged. That's the area I just want to, if this, maybe there should be a pilot with the OMSL to see how, at least they can shift ground a little bit in order to have a win-win situation. But I agree with everything. But if there's a way to see how they can reduce, even if it is just little amount of money, so that they can, it will be a face-saving situation, so that there could be a win-win situation. But based on the integrity of those who did this job, I think they've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Because national interest is really important here. Because it's not really good to have ships coming to the country and these ships are being attacked. It's not good. While it is good to make sure that we ease means of doing business in the country, we should also look at the security angle. Because by the time you allow a situation where ships are attacked, there's the tendency for these ships to begin to utilize the ports of other countries. We have neighbors like Togo, Benin Republic, and so on and so forth. But I think maybe we'll look at a way to tell this company to reduce a little amount of money so as to balance the situation. I still submit.
Senator Ahmed Babakaita.
Thank you very much, Senate President. Distinguished colleagues, I am a member of that committee and I participated on most of the sittings when we invited the head of this parastatal. I'm afraid.
Well, this is where we'll round off today's live broadcast of Senate plenary. At the moment, Senate has passed 5 bills through first reading. And then the Senate has also approved the 2020 budget of 11.5 billion naira for the Universal Service Provision Fund and 140.3 billion naira for the Nigerian Communications Commission. Senate is, at the moment, considering the report of its joint committee on the activities and operations at the secured anchorage and Lagos seaport. Well, at this point in time, we'll now hand you over to our studios to continue with our scheduled program for the day. I am Ignatius Unko, and on behalf of the Outside Broadcast crew, enjoy the rest of our programs.
What I have here is your sign.